Hey there, it's Lacy J, here to ask you to go to spacebearmedia.com right now to access all our content, buy yourself some merch, and most importantly, send us a message, a question, fan mail, even hate mail. We'll respond on YouTube. Also, please remember to rate and review the podcast on your favorite app or share it with someone you know who loves Lost. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's Lost in My 40s, Season 5, Episode 15. It's called Follow the Leader. It's a Richard Alpert episode, and it's a Christy episode. But first, how's everybody doing this week?
Fantastic.
Great.
Woo!
You guys both sound like Tony the Tiger.
That's right.
I had a mouthful of banana, so I could be like excellent because then it would have fallen out.
I got a banana right here.
Wow. A couple bananas were grabbed when we took a 10-minute break in between recording this and episode 14.
Potassium keeps me sharp.
Speaking of episode 14, Benjamin, could you please remind us what the power rankings look like at the end of that episode?
I can, yes. We had Ethan dropping into third from the bottom with negative 45 points. Radzitsky moving up or down, depending on how you look at it, into second place with negative 58 points. And Charles Widmore with negative 61 points. At the, let's see, the bronze medalist, we have Locke falling from silver to bronze with 61 points. Dan Faraday jumping from bronze to silver with 81 points, and Sawyer remaining in the gold spot with 123 points.
All right, we're getting to the end here. This and 2 more episodes. I'm curious, are there people that could reach the top, or is it basically like, can Locke take silver back?
Yeah, I don't think at this point, I don't even know if it's, I mean, it is, I think it is mathematically possible, but we basically all have to put Sawyer in the lowest ranking and kill him for the next 2 episodes, and then put somebody else in the highest ranking and fuck them twice. Like, I think the only way that it could happen is if we have like things have to go complete opposite directions. Like all of a sudden Sawyer comes out and he's all MAGA or something like that. We're like, what the fuck? You know?
No. I think I'm pretty convinced that that Sawyer's going to stay at the top. What I was asking in a really stupid and confusing way was, is there anybody close to that could pop into third? And I just looked, and I guess we've got Hurley at 52 points, Juliet at 50, but I think we know our top 3, but possibly there could be some shifting in between Dan Faraday and Locke, I guess, is what I was saying. Yeah, because mathematically, that's the way it looks. All right. Christy, would you take us through Follow the Leader, please?
I sure will.
All right.
So it's 1977. We're on the island. The episode opens with a rewatch of the last few minutes of last week. Only this time we see Jack and Kate watching the scene from the top of a hill. And Kate's like, what's he doing down there, Jack? He's crazy. Jack says, is he? What if this is why we're here? What if this is our one chance to put things back the way they're supposed to be?
Supposed to be? What does that sound like?
Yeah. Just then, a shot rings out, and Daniel falls to the ground. Jack says, no, and gets up to run down the hill. But Kate stops him and says, what the hell do you think you're doing? Jack wants to help him, but Kate thinks the others will just shoot him too. Now there's galloping being heard and men riding horses approach. Jack puts his hands up in the air, but one of them hits him in the fucking face with the butt of his rifle, and Jack falls to the ground.
Ow.
Kate runs over to him, and the other says in a Scottish accent, don't you move. Charles Widmore rides up, dismounts, and kicks Jack in the face.
Good Lord.
Jack's whole body rolls over with the force of the blow, and Widmore says, just who the bloody hell might you be?
Oh, That's all right.
At the bottom of the hill, Eloise flips through her son's journal. Widmore walks into camp, and captive Kate and Jack are led behind him by the second man. Their hands are bound behind their backs with rope, and Widmore says, "Eloise, what happened?" Richard replies, "This man walked into camp and put a gun to my head, and Eloise reacted." Where'd you find them?
Reacted.
I mean, she did.
Uh-huh.
Widmore tells him that he came across Jack and Kate crouched in the bushes like rats.
Is that what rats
Eloise
do? Do rats crouch in the bushes?
No, I don't think they do. Crouch. No.
I don't think they do either, but all right.
I mean, they did in the Rats of Nim, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, that was one of my favorite movies as a kid.
It was awesome.
Do you remember my rats, Christy, that I had when I lived on the Navy base? Yeah, I had
Nicodemus and
Templeton.
Yeah.
From Charlotte's Web. Yeah, so it's from the Secret of Nim and Charlotte's Web. Yeah.
They're actually very intelligent animals.
Oh my God, they're incredible.
My dad had them for several years, and
Yeah, they have personalities.
They do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. My friend Dia volunteers at a rescue that's mostly dogs and cats, but then they get rats and hamsters and, all kinds of other animals too. She always takes the rats. She has this huge, gorgeous cage, kind of environment for them in her family room. And it's really, really cool.
Yeah, I had hamsters when I was younger, and they're stupid.
Well, yeah, hamsters are dumb.
They're just dumbest creatures, man.
Actually, that reminds me of a hilarious story. So back when I was in my second marriage, I had 2 stepkids that lived with me for a little while, 2 girls, and the youngest really wanted a hamster. So we went out and we bought one, and she named it Lady Gaga. And one day, she came running out of her bedroom. I guess at the time she was 11, maybe. And she comes running out of her bedroom, screaming at the top of her lungs, "Lady Gaga had babies and she's eating them."
Yep, they'll do that, because I used to breed them myself. And yeah, they'll do that.
And she was so traumatized. And I ran in, and sure enough, Lady Gaga was there chewing on one of her naked little babies. It was absolutely frightening. And I hadn't thought about that in a while. Anyways.
All right. Getting back to terrible mothers. Eloise wants to know if they came with this man and nods her head towards her son. Jack confirms that they did, and Eloise says, "Put them in my tent." Widmore asks Eloise why the Dharma Initiative has declared war on them, and Eloise said, "These people aren't from the Dharma Initiative, Charles." Widmore replies, "Then where the hell are they from?"
Well.
30 years later, 2007, on the island, surf is rolling gently as a sailing ship sits motionless. A giant pair of tweezers adjusts its sail. We see that in a tent on the beach, Richard Alpert is building a ship in a bottle, which I never understood. How anybody could do something like that.
Oh, God, no. Yeah, it's... looks so tedious and...
So you don't mean you never understood why Richard Alpert was doing this in the show. You mean like you don't understand ship in a bottle, like period.
Why anyone ever would do that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we will talk more about why Richard Alpert was doing it in this scene later. But yeah, I know people have their hobbies, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. He's apparently got all the time in the world because he's Richard Alpert.
Because he's like a bazillion years old.
Right. So another enters the tent to tell him that he's here. Richard sets down the tweezers and stands to look, and we see John Locke walking into the other's camp while carrying a boar carcass across his shoulders.
Oh my, that's familiar, right? What is that, season 1?
Yep.
He says, "Hello, Richard. It's been a while." Locke sets the boar down and they shake hands. Richard chuckles and says, "It's been 3 years. What happened? Where were you?" Locke says he'll explain on the way. He has to run an errand right now, and there isn't much time. Richard looks at him skeptically and says, "Something's different about you." And Locke stands tall and says, I have a purpose now.
Wow.
Also was dead.
Also, I'm dead. I've
Also
been
was
dead.
hung. Yeah, I was hung.
They get to that part, but yeah, I love this scene. I think it's so reminiscent of the Locke of season 1, who we loved, who was in the top of the power rankings, and it's like he's back, and this time he's like, I've got a fucking purpose. I'm not searching for that purpose. I've got it. I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then we see a beaten and bruised Benjamin Linus walk into the camp with a little sheepish look on his face, and Sun follows just behind him. Richard is pretty shocked and wants to know what Ben is doing here, and Locke says, he helped me get back. Sun asks Ben why Locke called these his people. Ben says, when I left the island, John stepped in. He's the leader now. She wants to know who Locke is speaking with, and Ben says, his name is Richard Alpert. He's a kind of advisor, and he has had that job for a very, very long time.
Very.
Yeah. Sun makes a beeline for Richard and asks, you were here in 1977? She unfolds the photo that Christian gave her and shows it to him. She says, these people, Jack Shepherd, Kate Austin, Hugo Reyes, they were here with my husband, Jin Kwan. Were you here? Do you remember them? Any of them? Richard looks at the photo and says, yes, I was here 30 years ago, and I do. I remember these people. I remember meeting them very clearly because I watched them all die.
What?
Lost title screen. Dun, dun, dun.
Say what?
Oh, no. Ooh, I got goosebumps. I love this show.
Well, and we all know already that dead isn't always dead.
Right.
Well, I mean, not according to Ben, dead is dead.
Right.
But
then again, Ben isn't exactly the most truthful person either. So.
well, there you go.
So we get cut to Sun sitting on the beach and staring at Jin's wedding ring. Locke approaches and offers her some water. She says, do you think it's true? They're all dead? Locke replies, I don't think we went through all of this for nothing, Sun. Richard approaches to tell Locke that he's ready, and Locke asks if Richard still has the compass he gave him. Alpert says, a little rusty, but she can still find north. I mean, that is what they do.
Yeah.
So, Locke shouts, Ben, I'd appreciate it if you'd join us. And Ben replies, what, John? You don't trust me here with my former people? Afraid I'll stage a coup? Locke tells him that he's not afraid of anything Ben can do now.
Ooh.
Ben nods and says, well, in that case, I'd love to come.
Oh.
Locke says, good. And then turns to Sun to say, stay here. We'll be back in a couple of hours. I'll see what I can find out. But whatever happens, Sun, you have my word. If there's a way for you and Jin to be together again, there's a way to save our people, I'll find it.
Okay.
Damn.
Alrighty.
1977 on the island, back at Camp Others, Kate is aggressively patted down by one of the others in Ellie's tent, and Jack says, take it easy on her. The other whirls around and roundhouse kicks Jack in the face.
Chuck Norris.
Yeah, who falls to the ground.
That's the second kick to the face that Jack's had in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But he doesn't
He's
get
fine.
knocked out, so
No.
that's good.
No.
At least he's not concussed.
Yeah.
The man leaves the tent, and Kate says, you know, before we were caught, you said that we needed to put things back the way they were supposed to be. What did you mean by that? Jack replies, if we can do what Faraday said, our plane never crashes. Flight 815 lands in Los Angeles, and everyone we lost since we got here, they'd all be alive. Kate asks about their relationship and wonders how they'll go on living without ever having met, and Jack argues that all the misery they've been through will be wiped clean. Kate says, it wasn't all misery, and Jack sighs and replies, enough of it was.
Ouch.
Damn.
Yeah, he is done with her shit.
I loved it. I loved it.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. Eloise enters the tent holding Daniel's journal, and she says, "The man I shot, what did he need the bomb for?" Jack doesn't think she'll believe him if he tells her the truth, and Ellie crouches next to him and says, "When I was 17 years old, I took a young man to the bomb. He proceeded to tell me that if we buried it underground, then things would work out splendidly. When I asked him how he could be so sure, he said he was from the future. And then he disappeared right in front of my bloody eyes. 10 minutes ago, I shot that man in the back. And before he died, he told me that he said he was my son. Explain that to me, and you have my word. I will believe you." She shows them the journal and says, "How is this my handwriting if I don't remember writing it?"
Wow.
Rohypnol?
And this is where I started to tear up a little bit.
Yeah.
Jack replies, "Because you haven't written it yet. I know this is hard to understand, but what you just did, it was an accident. And I think there's a way for you to take it all back. Your son came back here because he had figured out a way to change things. He doesn't have to be dead. You don't have to have killed him. If we do what's written in that journal, none of this will have happened."
Ooh.
Ellie turns to a teary-eyed Kate and asks if Jack knows what he's talking about, and Kate replies, "He thinks he does."
Yeah,
Pretty much. Yeah.
Being a pouty little fucking brat.
Derek, that was fucking perfect.
Wow. I sort of disagree with you guys. Like, I think she was genuine. Like, he really thinks he does. She just is exasperated by all of it. That was some serious Kate hate. Jesus Christ.
So Ellie replies, "All right, then. I'll take you to the bomb. Just one small issue, however. We secured it over 20 years ago underground. But since that time, it appears that someone's built an entire village over it."
Convenient.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah. And then Jack states the obvious, and he's like, "The Dharma Initiative?"
No, that other village over there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The other village.
Yeah. Ellie confirms this, but says coming and going from their village should be uncomplicated since Jack and Kate have been posing as members.
Yeah.
And Jack's like, it might be a little more complicated than that. We kind of fucked things.
Yeah, we had a gun battle, you know.
Members.
Member.
In the security center, a handcuffed Lafleur is shoved into a chair. Lafleur.
I happen to be working on
your
this
typo.
Oh no, I did it on purpose because I happened to be working on making this outline when I said Lafleur a couple of weeks ago. You thought it was a typo?
I forgot about that. I did. I was like, what has Lacy been smoking when she wrote this?
Well, you know what I was probably smoking when I wrote
you
it.
generally have the good shit.
I live in Washington.
Yes. So in the security center, handcuffed Lafleur is shoved into a chair in front of the bank of monitors. Horace and his bad wig stand at the control panel while a bruised Phil and two other members of the security group stand guard with rifles. Redzinski has a bandaged hand and is holding a police baton in another.
Uh-oh.
Next to him, the tape with Sawyer and Kate crossing the salsa fence.
I told you.
I know.
Five-letter S word.
Right. So,
I'm surprised you didn't fix that typo.
I missed that.
Salsa fence.
Yeah. So Sawyer and Kate cross the salsa fence. Redzinski demands to know where Kate is, and Sawyer says, "Call my lawyer." Redzinski,
I'm Lafleur.
Yeah. Redzinski whacks Sawyer across the face with his baton, and Horace gets between them and says, "Stuart, what the hell are you doing?"
No shit, Stuart.
Stuart.
Yeah, all right.
Look what I can do.
Redzinski ignores him and hits Sawyer again. Horace says that he's still in charge and orders Redzinski to stop. Redzinski says, "No, you were in charge, Horace.
Oh,
But
fuck.
if we're going to protect our people and all the work we're doing here, you don't have the stomach for what happens next.
Who the fuck is Radzinski all of a sudden? God damn.
Yeah, he's a fucking asshole.
He's an incel. He's a total incel.
Yeah.
Neck-bearded incel.
Horace the pedophile relents. And Radzinski says, Phil, Grumpy Dharma pushes Sawyer into the control panel and pins him there. Radzinski gives Jim one last chance to tell him where Kate is. He says, you tell me where she is, or so help me God, I will kill you.
I learned something new the other day because we keep calling Horace
learn something new every day.
That's true. Well, here's what I learned because we keep calling Horace a pedophile. And do you know what? That's actually not accurate. Because I learned the other day the term pedophilia denotes the erotic preference for prepubescent children. The term hebephilia is to denote erotic preference for pubescent children, roughly ages.
Will you spell that for me, please?
Yes. Hebephilia. Hebephilia is
Philia.
Well, the other one is pedophilia, so I was just giving you the different four letters.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, philia means lover, I believe.
But so that's for pubescent children from like 11 or 12 to 14. But then there's another word, hebophilia, which is ephebophilia. And that is sexual attraction to older adolescents, about 15 to 19. So that's actually what Horace is.
Will you spell that for me again?
Yes. ephebophilie.
Oh, fuck that. Pedo.
Ebhibophile or ebhebophilia. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Should be just a 17, though, because 18 is legal.
Ephobophile.
Oh, you looked it up? Ephobophile? That's how it's pronounced? No, you're just saying that.
I spelled it. Well, like I wrote it out when you spelled it for me. Ephobophile.
They're post-pubescent teenagers.
Exactly, but that's he started dating Courtney Stodden when they were 16. So so that's actually accurate. I had forgotten. I came across that the other day. Fuck, I can't. It was an ADHD rabbit hole, and I ended up there after seeing something, posted on social media, and I thought, oh, that's actually like relevant to Horace.
So it looks like pedophiles they go for the single digits.
Exact. Oh God, that's so disgusting. Oh God, that's so horrific. But yes.
Well, and they don't necessarily go for them. That's just that's where their attraction is, which is even
right.
That's the true. Fucked up part. Whether or not they act on it, that's the thing.
Right, that's true. Yeah. There is a distinction. Like you could be a pedophile and never molest a child. I can imagine that is a horrific life, and that's why so many of them commit suicide.
Yeah.
But yes, like Horace actually did it, and Courtney was 16. So say it again. A phibophile?
Yeah. A phobophile.
A phobophile? It's such a weird word.
The PH
They should do that in the spelling bee, like, when the kids do the spelling bee every year. Have those words.
Could you use it in a sentence? Could you use it in a sentence?
Could you use it in a sentence? Horace from Lost.
Could you use it in a dirty sentence?
Is it a phobophile? Oh, my God.
When it comes to Horace, I'm just sticking with pedo because it's more fun to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm just imagining an 8-year-old going, can you define that for me, please?
Yes.
Definition.
8-year-olds, dude.
Oh, God.
All righty. Moving on.
This descended to
It really did.
Now I'm in a silly mood, though.
I'm drinking vodka, so.
Oh, well.
And like I said earlier, it's my earlier in the day, not earlier on the thing. It's my first day on on Adderall.
Oh, that's right. And you need to drink in moderation on the Adderall. Christy got diagnosed with ADHD because when we went to Dominican Republic, I described my experience in depth before and after diagnosis and medication. And she was like, and went home and got tested. And
to be fair, I've known since I was 10 that this is a condition that I have.
Yeah. I know you knew. I meant like officially you listened to like how I felt before and after and went, maybe I should try this. And so got the diagnosis.
You were the catalyst. So I finally made the appointment. Thank you.
I'm glad.
And I had not yet Googled Adderall and alcohol.
Oh my God. They should have told you that.
All my friends that take it recreationally drink like fish. It doesn't seem to affect them.
Well,
just mix it together.
It does.
Just take Adderall.
It's speed and
alcohol. It makes you a wide awake drunk. It's like, doing Coke whenever you're drunk.
Okay. I was just going to say it does the exact thing that Coke does because it's a form of upper and you mix it with alcohol.
Like Coke? Shit, I'll get on that shit right now.
Oh, for
I've never
fuck's
done
sake.
Coke, so I couldn't answer that.
Oh my God. So
Lacy?
No, what I'm trying to tell you is what an upper like that does with alcohol is it doesn't make you feel the amount of alcohol that you are taking in. And so you can overdo it and give yourself alcohol poisoning because you do not feel as drunk as you normally would. And so that's why
they drink like fish then.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly. And that's why it's very dangerous to mix those things if you don't know what you're doing. And if you don't know, like, I have to set this limit and not overdo my drinking if I'm on an upper. So that's what I was trying to say.
That takes it. He's like always directing an orchestra when he's talking because he's always twitching. And I'm like, God, why do you take that shit? Well, because I'm tired. I'm like, well, go to sleep.
I can't. I can't.
Well, that's the thing. He's on so much shit that he just doesn't sleep that much.
Right. Because Adderall, it affects people with ADHD differently. Like the speed, caffeine, cocaine, it doesn't affect us in the same way that it affects other people. That's why I can drink a cup of coffee and go to bed.
It helps you concentrate, basically,
yes,
right? On one thing.
Yeah, it helps you focus, but it doesn't keep you wired like it does with other people.
Well,
so
that actually
anyways,
kind of helpful because it's hard for me to do that.
Well, when we're done here, I'm going to make a chicken pot pie, so I think I'll be all right.
Oh my God. Okay.
Numbers.
Yum.
We are way off the fucking rails.
Yep.
Moments later, Radzinski hits Sawyer across the face again. Juliet's there too, and she's also bound to a chair. Sawyer is panting and he's covered in blood, and Radzinski asks if he's ready to talk yet. Sawyer says, nope. Radzinski hits him again. Juliet looks on with pain in her face, and Radzinski demands to know where Sawyer's girlfriend went.
Whoa.
Referring to Kate.
Of course.
Ouch.
Yeah, that hurts Juliet for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
He punches him again, this time so hard that Sawyer's entire chair topples backwards, and Juliet screams, stop, please. Stuart, please. We've known each other for 3 years. We are not bad people. We are not here to hurt you. Sawyer tells her that it doesn't matter what they say. Nobody will believe them. Horace picks Sawyer up and says this is pointless. Bill thinks he can make him talk, so Radzinski steps aside. Bill looks at Sawyer, looks him in the eyes momentarily, and then he whirls around and slaps Juliet across the face.
Motherfucker.
Oh,
Sawyer screams,
you just got into a lot of people's kill slot.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. I mean, who didn't know that was coming, really?
Of course, yeah.
So Sawyer screams, son of a bitch. He's trying to get out of the chair, but that's not happening. And he says, you're a dead man, Phil. I'm going to kill you.
I believe him.
Kill
I
Phil.
do. Yeah. Another security officer enters the room to say that he's checked the latest manifest, and there were 3 last-minute add-ons. 2 of them are the ones who shot at Radzinski, and the other one they can't track down. Radzinski takes the manifest and looks at it and says, who the hell is Hugo Reyes? Phil replies, he's the fat guy.
Can't just say the chef. Jesus Christ.
And then lo and behold, it cuts to Hurley doing what?
Grabbing vanilla cookies and beans.
Yes. Indeed.
An alarm blares in the distance. Hurley's in the barracks pantry shoving canned goods and vanilla cookies into his backpack. Outside now, Hurley's looking around rapidly as he flees the barracks, and he has a suitcase and his guitar case with him.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's not at all obvious.
Right.
So Dr. Chang notices him and starts to follow him. Hurley finds Jin and Miles waiting with the rifles just beyond the boundaries of the barracks. He says, "So what's the rescue plan?" Miles replies, "Rescue plan? We're heading to the beach. What do you think we sent you for food? Why do you think we sent you for food?" Hurley doesn't understand why they wouldn't rescue Sawyer and Juliet. And Miles says, "And there are 30 of them, and they all have guns. The only people we can rescue is ourselves. So let's go." Hurley points out that Sawyer would never leave them behind.
Ooh.
Which,
Wow.
I mean, Sawyer now probably wouldn't, but Sawyer 3 years ago might have. Probably
Yeah,
would have.
yeah.
in fact.
The Sawyer that squished a frog would have left them behind.
Yeah,
Remember
absolutely.
how bad he was? Remember how awful he was?
Yeah, but I
What a-
still liked it when he was all lubed up with coconut oil.
Well, I mean, obviously.
So all of a sudden we hear leaves rustling and Dr. Chain pulls a lock on the box. Miles and Jen cock their rifles to make sure that he knows they're serious and they point it at him. Miles says, "Dr. Chang, what are you doing here?" He replies, "I could ask you the same question." Hurley chimes in with, "But we asked you first."
Okay.
Dr. Chang says he needs to know if Faraday was telling the truth about them being from the future. Hurley says, "Dude, that's ridiculous." Dr. Chang asks him what year you were born. And Hurley says 1931. So
old,
Dr.
Hurley.
Chang says, "You're 46?
This is amazing.
Yeah.
Do you
fought
remember
in
when
the-
Hurley was worried about like somebody asking
Yes.
him? And then the exact fucking thing happens right
Yep.
now. It's so
He was
great.
worried about if somebody was going to ask him who was president, and Chang asks him who was president. He also wonders aloud if he fought in the Korean War.
Oh my God.
Hurley pauses and then says, "There's no such thing."
Technically, it's
Miles
true.
and-
It was a police action. We never
Right.
actually declared war, so
Right.
Technically,
okay.
it's accurate.
Same with Vietnam.
hmm
It was
Already
a
war
conflict.
since World War II.
Since World War II, indeed.
All right. So finally, Dr. Chang validates and stumps Hurley by asking, "Who is the president of the United States?" And Hurley says, "All right, dude, we're from the future. Sorry."
Donald Trump.
Ew, oh God.
Chang looks to Miles and says, "Is it true then? You're my son?" Miles confirms that he is his son, and Chang says, "Your friend, the physicist.
Whoa.
He told me we need to evacuate everyone I could off the island. He said there was going to be a massive accident at the Swan. Now, is that true?" Miles says that Daniel's been right about everything so far, and if he recommended getting off the island, they should probably do so. Chang says, "Well then, let's hope he knows what he's doing."
Wow.
Back at Camp Others, Widmore is kneeling over his son, studying his face. He says, "Tell me something. Why is it that this man looks familiar to me?" Ellie tells him that him and Eric, the guy from earlier in the tent, are going with her. She says to untie Kate and Jack. She's taking them to the bomb, and Widmore says, "What? Are you insane? I'm worried about you, not in your condition."
Uh-oh.
I mean, like, she's barely like 12 weeks, if that, at this point. You can not see any bump.
No, but she's definitely pregnant.
Yeah,
With
but
Daniel.
still, women are still allowed to do things when they're
I
pregnant.
don't mean that. I just meant,
I know,
wow,
I know,
she's
I know.
actually pregnant with the person she just shot. That's
Yeah,
a mind fuck.
It's very weird. So Jack wants to know who's talking to Ellie, and Alpert says, "The man you're asking about, Jack, is Charles Widmore. He and Eloise are, well, let's just say love can be complicated."
Doing
Oh
it.
my. Doing it.
Eloise says, "All right, let's move out." Excuse me.
You didn't read about Adderall and alcohol. Blech.
No, but I paused enough right there so you could cut out my belch.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Or
though.
leave it in. Yeah.
No, definitely leaving it in.
Yes.
Just
We
turn
had
up
an
the
episode
volume.
like 2 weeks ago that there were 4 of Derek's belches, and I could have swore I heard a fart at one point. I left that
I
in
did
too.
fart that episode. Yes.
I thought I heard
did.
it.
Yes. I would try to lift up so I could get some, volume on it.
Yeah, no, I was like after I edited it, I didn't hear it the first time because I think we were probably talking and like we muted a few voices. But when Ben gave me the final copy, I was like, I swear to God, that's a fart, and I've just left it in there. So yes, listeners, if you heard a fart a couple weeks ago, apparently that was real.
If you didn't hear it, go back and listen again.
Just, if you can't hear it, just close your eyes and keep breathing. You'll smell it.
Oh,
All right. 2007 on the island. Locke is leading Richard and Ben through the jungle. Alpert says, "So, John, you ready to tell me where you've been the last 3 years?" Locke is surprised that Richard doesn't know, and Alpert says, "Well, I know that on the last day Ben here turned the wheel, that you and I were sitting on a log. There was a bright light. There was a loud noise, and then you just disappeared." Locke says Richard is about to see where he disappeared too, and after that, he wants to go see Jacob.
oh,
That was not butt cheeks flapping with a fart. That was a dog shaking their head.
Yeah, I know that sound.
yeah, there are several of
Yeah,
those.
that'd be a loose fucking fart maker.
Prolapse.
Yeah. Oh.
God. Wow.
Ben and Richard both stop walking and they stare at Locke. Ben says, "That's not how it works, John."
Really?
Locke asks Richard if that's true, and Richard says that John just returned and there's no reason to rush into anything. Locke inquires whether or not he's the leader now. Alpert confirms that he is, and Locke says, "Good, then I would like you to take me to Jacob. Can you do that?"
Yeah.
Richard says, "Yeah, of course." Locke is pleased and tells him that they're almost to the plane. Ben's like, "What plane?"
The plane.
Yeah.
To
So when
plane,
they
to
arrive,
plane.
he says it's a Beechcraft used to smuggle heroin, flew out of Nigeria and crashed here. All right, Richard, listen very carefully because you're only going to have about 3 minutes to get this right. A man is about to walk out of the jungle. He's been shot in the leg. You need to get the bullet out. Locke pushes a backpack into Richard's chest while Richard stands there confused, and Locke says, "Now just listen. This is the important part. You're going to need to tell him that he has to bring everyone who left back to the island. And when he asks how to do that, you tell him he's going to have to die." A man can be seen hopping out of the jungle, grunting, heading for the plane, and Ben says, "Who is that man, John?" And Locke replies, "Me."
Holy
I really fucking love seeing
fuck.
Ben having no idea what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I bet.
Well, I love it too because it's the change in power dynamic is fascinating to watch. But this is fucking wild. So wait a second, it was Locke's idea that Locke had to die? The fuck?
Yeah, I know. What the hell?
Holy shit!
Yeah, that's kind of wild.
Well, we're gonna talk about paradoxes at the end of this episode.
So now we are rewatching the scene where Richard shows up to help Locke after being shot by Ethan. Again, Locke says, "How did you know there was a bullet in my leg, Richard?" And again, Richard says, "Because you told me there was, John."
Ooh.
They continue talking, and we
Locking.
move to Ben and other Locke who are watching. Ben comments on Locke's impeccable timing and wonders how he knew when to be there. Locke tells him that the island gave him the info.
Oh
Ben doesn't
my
like that.
God.
Ben
Ben is
does
like,
not like that.
you motherfucker.
It's
He only
fantastic.
talks to me.
He says, "Didn't it ever tell you things?" And Ben replies, "No, John. And clearly it hasn't told you where Jacob is, or you wouldn't need Richard to show you."
Oh, okay. Throwing barbs.
Locke accuses Ben of never having actually seen Jacob.
Oh.
And the sound of time jumping, Locke departing, can be heard. Richard is now alone at the plane, and Ben asks what happened and where did that Locke go? Locke says, "To give Richard his compass back." Richard comes back and asks Locke if he wants the bullet. Locke tells him to keep it and asks if everything went all right. And Alpert says, well, you seemed pretty convinced, especially when I said you were going to die. I'm certainly glad that didn't have to happen.
What?
Locke replies, actually, Richard, it did. We better get back to camp.
Wow.
Yep.
1977 on the island, Dr. Chang bursts into the security center and tells Forrest, you need to evacuate the island of all non-essential personnel, and you need to do it. But before he can finish his sentence, he notices LaFleur and Juliet handcuffed to chairs and beaten. He says, what the hell is going on here? Radzinski points out that Chang should be at the Swan right now because they break ground in 20 hours. Chang says they are under imminent threat of cataclysmic accident. Radzinski persists that they are drilling on schedule. Chang puts Horace in charge, but Radzinski says, he's not in charge anymore. This is my decision, and it's been made. We keep working. Finally, Sawyer says, put us on the sub. He's right. It ain't safe. Put the women and children on the sub and get them the hell out of here. And if you put me and Juliet on the sub with them, we'll tell you anything you want to know.
Whoa.
You okay with that, sweetheart? Juliet says, absolutely.
All right.
Radzinski puts a Dharma composition book and pencil into Sawyer's lap. He says, you want on that sub, Jim? Draw me a map. I want to know exactly where the hostels are.
Okay, so we're back to
He should
idiotic.
get Saeed to do that. We know Saeed is awesome at drawing maps.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, really, really good at it.
So we had the bore over the shoulder Locke from season 1, and now we're getting the ridiculous map making of seasons 1 and 2.
Across the island, Ellie and her group come to a pond. She asks Jack and Kate if they can swim. Kate's like, well, can't we just go around? And Ellie tells her that they have to swim under the pond to get to the tunnels.
Okay.
Kate says, I'm not going. She says, I'm going to go back and find everyone else. I can't go any further with you, Jack. Not this time.
Wow.
Which is ridiculous because she always wants to go on a fucking adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a change. Do we think
But
that's a
not one that's
positive
gonna-
change in Kate?
Not that's I can undo everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, she doesn't want to undo it.
Put her back in cuffs.
Yeah.
Even though other people have been miserable.
Yeah.
I think it's less about the handcuffs and more about
Oh, it is.
her relationship with Jack and Aaron.
I do too. Yep, I do too.
Oh, yeah.
And Sawyer.
Yeah.
That too.
Mm-hmm.
Jack pleads with her and says that their cover's blown and the Dharma people will kill her. She thinks this side quest will also get her killed and says, bye, Jack. Eric points his rifle at Kate and cocks it so she knows he's serious. Jack steps in front of the rifle and Eloise says, we're not in the habit of letting our secrets, of telling our secrets to strangers and then just letting them saunter off.
Saunter.
That's a great word.
Kate says she doesn't care about their secrets and walks away. Jack's trying to get Eric to put down the gun when a gunshot rings out.
What?
Kate's face is so wide-eyed and she's like checking herself for a bullet wound. And then another shot rings out. Eric falls to the ground. And I cheered. I was like, yeah!
Dun, 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 dun.
Because Saeed steps out of the bushes pointing a handgun.
Well, for a second, I thought Kate was shot too, because they just randomly take out main characters sometimes in this show.
Right.
Well, and then the look on her face when the shot rang out.
Right.
And then the whole bullet hole moved, and she tried to keep covering up, but it kept moving all over.
I would have loved it if Saeed came out and after he shot him just said, has just been revoked.
So Saeed's pointing a handgun, and Eloise and Richard raise their arms over their heads. Meanwhile, Richard is checking for a pulse on Eric. When he can't find one, he says, what are you doing? What are we doing here, Eloise? That man just killed one of our own people, and you're acting like it doesn't matter. She says, if these people are right about what they're about to do, Richard, it won't matter. Richard inquires about exactly what they're about to do.
Whew.
Not far away, Kate, Jack, and Saeed are talking. And Saeed says, so you're telling me you're going to erase the last 3 years of our lives. Jack insists that they can change things, but Saeed doesn't believe it and says, I already killed Ben and nothing changed. Kate said, that's because you didn't kill him. Sawyer and me took him to the others so that they could save him. A solemn Saeed wants to know why she would do that.
Right?
Kate wonders when shooting kids and blowing up hydrogen bombs became okay.
Well, you blew up your fucking mom's house. What the hell?
Right? Yeah.
Shooting kids and blowing up hydrogen bombs is better than okay. It's awesome.
Yes.
Jack is just not letting it go. And he says, the three of us disappeared off that plane and ended up here, ended up now, because this is our chance to change things. Kate points out that if he's wrong, everyone on the island dies. Jack insists that he's not wrong, and he says, this is it. This is why we're here. This is our destiny.
Oh, my God.
Kate can't believe what she's hearing, and she's like,
neither can
I.
I.
You know who you sound like? Because he was crazy too, Jack. You said so yourself. Jack thinks maybe he was wrong. Kate thinks he's nuts, and before walking away, she says, no, you were right. I'm going back to find the rest of our people, because if I can't stop you, maybe they can.
Wow.
So back in Dharmaville, loudspeakers are blaring instructions to the Dharma personnel. The submarine departs in 30 minutes. All evacuees, please proceed to the dock. As Dharma members arrive at the dock to get to the submarine, Miles watches with binoculars. Charlotte's mother is ushering her into the right direction. Wiley didn't care for that.
Was that your dog?
Yeah. Dr. Chang is doing the same to his wife with baby Miles. She's protesting, but Dr. Chang says, I want you to leave now. Hurley says, why is he yelling at her, dude? And you can see Miles understand all of a sudden. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he says, because that's the only way he can get her to go. And this is another place where I was crying.
So, and this is a good place to stop right here, because if we are in like the mode of trying to figure out whether or not they're changing anything, let's consider two things. We know from Charlotte's mouth that she said she grew up on the island, and then they had to leave very suddenly, and she never saw her father again. And Miles's mother tells Miles that their father threw them out, said he wanted them to leave, and we're kind of all watching what we know has already happened. Right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
Harley says to Miles, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah.
Jim thinks they better get going, but Miles notices a Jeep with Sawyer and Juliet inside. Says, what the hell are they putting them on the sub? He hands the binoculars to Hurley, who says, don't worry, it's going to be okay. Sawyer always has a plan, right?
Right.
Cut to Sawyer and Juliet being marched down the docks in handcuffs. Sawyer says, we'll buy Microsoft. Then we'll bet on the Cowboys in the 78 Super Bowl. We're going to be rich.
I love it.
Yep.
He says, look, I'm sorry. I should have listened to you when you wanted to get on this sub 3 years ago. And Juliet says that she's glad he talked her out of it. You can see that she realizes that being on the island with him for the past 3 years is why they were able to fall in love with each other.
Yep, absolutely.
Juliet climbs in the sub, and Sawyer climbs in behind her. He takes one last look at the island, and before getting in, he says, good riddance.
No shit.
Doubtful, but okay.
What?
At the pond, Alpert dives into the water and swims down. Jack exhales and says to Saeed, if I don't see you on the other side, I won't blame you. Ellie replies, now take a deep breath and follow Richard under. There's an opening in the bottom of the rocks at the far side. Jack dives in and swims underneath a waterfall through a narrow tunnel. He emerges into an air-filled chamber, gasping and coughing. Richard's there, already lighting some torches that happen to just be sitting there waiting for him.
That's right.
And a panting Jack says, That was a lot further than I thought it was. Where are we?
And why didn't we
Richard
take our
says that
fucking
they're-
shoes off to swim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are we
well,
wearing
that
our
too, yeah.
clothes? Jesus Christ, you people, come on. If you're gonna go swimming underneath the thing, you don't know how far this thing is, then you need to get all of the stuff that's gonna cause drag off of you. Get your shoes off, all that stuff. Freaks.
Yeah, ideally, but then they're like naked trying to deal with a hydrogen bomb.
I'd watch that.
I mean, you're going to be in wet clothes anyway. You could take your wet clothes with you. Just take your shoes off. It's really difficult to swim in shoes.
You are so picky about the weirdest things.
To be fair, Ben, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, why are they wearing their shoes? That's got to be more
Right.
difficult than swimming barefoot.
Seriously.
Honestly, there's nothing worse than wet socks and wet shoes.
Squish.
Squish. Yep.
Yeah.
getting into the water with jeans on. That's the worst.
Oh my God, the chafing.
Oh, that and like they literally stick to you. You cannot get them off.
Yeah, it's terrible. So Richard tells Jack that they're in the tunnels, and Jack asks how they're supposed to get a bomb out of there. And Richard says, the same way we brought it in.
Okay.
And
Eloise emerges from the pool, followed shortly by Saeed. Jack sees him and says, I didn't think you'd come. And Saeed replies, well, if this works, you might just save us all. And if it doesn't, at least you'll put us out of our misery.
Oh, God.
Eloise says, all right, let's get started.
We've heard that line from her before.
Yep.
2007 on the island, Richard, Ben, and Locke approach the others' beach camp. Richard carries a torch and says, I'll have a tent prepared for you, John. We'll get going first thing in the morning. Locke is really ready to leave right now.
Yeah, he is.
And Richard says that's possible, but he thinks the two of them should have a chat first. Locke ignores him and asks if the entire group is in the camp. Richard says that there's another group at the temple, and Locke wants to talk to everybody at the camp right now. Richard says, be my guest. Locke turns to the group and says, hello, everyone. My name's John Locke. I've been told that
Hi,
for
John.
some time, I've been told that for some time you all have been accepting orders from a man named Jacob, and yet, oddly enough, it seems that no one has actually seen him. Now, I'm sure there are very good reasons why his existence and whereabouts are a secret.
Are you?
I just don't know what they are. And to be honest with all of you, if there's a man telling us what to do, I want to know who he is.
Oh,
Sun steps forward to ask if Jacob might know how to bring Jin and the rest of them back. Locke tells her absolutely and says that Richard has agreed to take them all there. The group is excited and ready to go. Richard turns to Ben stating, I'm starting to think John Locke is going to be trouble. Benjamin Linus says, why do you think I tried to kill him?
Whoa.
I mean, to be fair, Ben, you actually did succeed for a time.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
1977 on the island, more Dharma members are being loaded into the submarine. Inside the sub, Sawyer and Juliet are handcuffed to a table. And Others says, we're shoving off in 2 minutes. Appreciate it if you didn't cause us any trouble. Sawyer replies, wouldn't think of it, Nemo. Juliet wonders what they'll do when they get to Ann Arbor. And Sawyer says, we ain't going to Ann Arbor. These guys ain't cops. They got no authority of us back in the real world. So once we dock, wherever we dock, we're free.
I just thought of something funny, that quote where he calls him Nemo. I bet like people our age know that he's talking about Captain Nemo. But I wonder if like younger generations, when they watch this, they think that it's like the fish.
Probably.
Oh my God.
Oh,
I thought it was the
Finding Nemo.
fish.
Yeah.
You thought it was the fish?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, he's talking about Captain Nemo. Oh my God,
I haven't read that book.
that's fucking hilarious. Well, Captain Nemo is it's not a book, right? I mean, he's from a comic, isn't he?
No, I thought, wasn't Captain Nemo wasn't it 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea?
Yeah, 20,000
Oh,
leagues.
is that what
Yeah.
it is? Okay.
Yeah,
I think so.
See, even
Yeah.
I didn't know.
What?
Yep, 20,000 leagues. Yeah, that's what I thought. There's a good sub shop here called Captain Nemo's, but it's closed down now.
Sorry.
Sad face.
Well, that's a really interesting
It's a fun
bit
fact.
of information. Mm-hmm. Okay, so there is a Captain Nemo in the Marvel universe, so I was not incorrect. He is the commander of the Nautilus submarine. I believe he's part of shit. What is that?
That was the
group
name
called?
of the ship in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, wasn't it? The Nautilus.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. So they just have him as a Marvel character as well. What did they do?
No.
Steal it from the guy's novel?
Jules Verne.
Jules Verne, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Huh. Okay. Well, that was how I knew him, was from a comic. So there we go.
Right. Juliet laughs at the idea of the real world and says she no longer knows what that means. Sawyer takes her hand and says, "Whatever happens, I got your back, remember?" Juliet says that she loves him, and Sawyer says, "I love you back." Phil can now be heard shouting that they caught someone coming back into town, and Horace wants her on the sub as well.
Phil's probably slapping her around, too.
Yeah.
It might be.
Kate fucking shows up in the submarine, and she's handcuffed to the table with Sawyer and Juliet.
And Juliet is not happy.
Not even a little bit. And Kate, smiles, "Oh, hey, guys."
Threesome?
Totally unwanted third wheel there.
It's you heard of the Mile High Club? How about the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea Club?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this is perfect because I'm going to jump back in about that. Okay, the thing that I couldn't remember earlier, but I have now gotten, is that Captain Nemo in the comic books, he is part of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. That's what I was trying to say.
That's where he was. Okay.
Yes, and he does make an appearance in that terrible movie, The League of Extraordinary
Connery.
Gentlemen.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, she was in there.
Yes, and it
I
does
thought
say
you were
here.
going to say that he was part of the Hydra.
Oh, no, not that Marvel. No. But yeah, that is what I was trying to say, and that is why I know him from the comics. But it does say here that it's based on the Jules Verne novels, the comics are. Anyways, go ahead.
Great.
Great.
Finish chewing this banana. Since you were, I was like, great, I can have a bite of banana.
Sorry, I wasn't looking at the screen, or I would have just kept talking. Oh, another belch. We are just disgusting.
All right, the sub dives down and they are off. Richard and Eloise walk just in front of Jack and Saeed as they make their way through the tunnels. Saeed wonders if it's occurred to Jack that Ellie might be helping them in an attempt to annihilate the Dharma Initiative.
Mm-hmm.
Jack says it has, but he still trusts her because 30 years from now, she's the one who helps them get back here. Saeed says, "And that makes you trust her?"
Yeah, seriously. What if her whole motivation was to convince you idiots to set off a hydrogen bomb?
Kind of like convincing her son to come back so she could shoot him.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think that's a great justification, Jack.
Nope.
The group enters a large chamber, and Richard begins lighting torches on all the walls. Eloise pulls a large cover off an object at the chamber's center. The bomb labeled Jughead sits there, and Ellie says, "Well, now what?"
And it's been leaking for 30 years, too.
Yeah.
Or actually longer. No, it's a 77, so yeah.
Yeah,
Probably
since
about 20-ish
54.
years.
Yeah.
23.
Yeah, so I'm sure it's a little radioactive in there.
Now all I got to do is figure out how to set off a fucking hydrogen bomb with 30-year-old government electronics.
Yep.
Sure, there's a manual for
2007
it.
on the island.
Did you say you're sure there's a manual for it, Ben?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It is morning on the beach now, and the others are in a neat column, making a mass exodus from the camp. Locke looks to Ben and says, "Beautiful day, isn't it?"
Oh, yeah.
Ben says, "Yeah, so far." Richard has some concerns. This pilgrimage to Jacob makes him uncomfortable.
By the way, my favorite score from the show is back. It's that march. Every time they march along the beach or through the jungle, or anytime there's some sort of exodus, they always use.
Derek.
I couldn't even hear.
Dun, dun,
Dun,
dun,
dun,
dun,
dun,
dun,
dun,
dun.
dun. Yeah, that march.
That's the one.
Oh, all right.
Oh, you just keep doing that while she reads the end of the show? Yeah.
Richard has expressed reservations about whether or not you know what the hell you're doing.
Oh.
Locke appreciates Ben bringing this to his attention. And Ben says, I know we've had our differences in the past, John, but I'm here to follow you now. So if you need Jacob to help you reunite your people, then I'll do whatever. But before Ben can finish, Locke interrupts him to say he's not at all interested in reuniting his people.
What?
Huh?
Ben points out that what Locke told Son, and Locke says, I know what I told her, but that's not why we're going to Jacob. And Ben asks, then why are we going to Jacob? Locke replies, so I can kill him.
Say what?
Oh, what?
Benjamin Linus stops dead in his tracks. He totally didn't fucking see this coming. The rest of the column of others passes him by as he stands there in utter shock.
That look on his face. Holy shit.
Lost title screen, end of the episode.
Oh my gosh. What the fuck is going on with Locke? All right, guys. We know what the fun facts are today. They are on temporal paradox. So, we're going to be, like I have mentioned, diving deeper into a previously covered topic. In season 4, we talked about paradox in general and some fun facts. A few weeks ago, we chatted about the Novikov self-consistency principle, which happens to be one possible solution to the type of paradox we're talking about today, which is the temporal paradox. Of course, temporal refers to time, so we're talking about time paradoxes. While the notion of time travel to the future complies with the current understanding of physics via relativistic time dilation, temporal paradoxes throw a wrench into the mess by demonstrating an apparent contradiction or logical contradiction associated with the idea of time travel or foreknowledge of the future. So temporal paradoxes fall into 3 broad groups. They are consistency paradoxes, the Newcomb's paradox, and the bootstrap paradox. I'm going to tell you a little bit about each. The consistency paradox is when traveling to the past causes the future required to initiate the original travel to disappear. There are many variations, including the grandfather paradox, the retro-suicide paradox, and the Hitler's murder paradox. Remember, Derek, you brought up, would you murder Hitler? I said we'd talk about that. So, if one travels back in time to murder Adolf Hitler before he can instigate World War II and the Holocaust, it changes the future to one without a reason to go back and murder Hitler. Get it?
Yep.
I mean, it could just be his art sucked too. So,
well,
that's true. Yeah.
Are you getting that, Christy?
Yeah.
There's a quiz after she's done, Christy. So
I'm
definitely, definitely. So the same goes for killing your own grandfather or killing yourself, which are the other paradoxes I mentioned. So a potential resolution to this paradox is that a time traveler can do anything that happened, but cannot do anything that did not occur. Doing something that did not happen results in a contradiction, which we know is referred to as the Novikov self-consistency principle. This is what we already talked about. The example in that episode was buying stock, going back to after the stock market crash, buying the stock, and then you accidentally already had thrown them out. So it's basically saying, you can't change the past, or it accounts for anything that you did in the past is already accounted for in the future, so it can't change. All right. Newcomb's paradox, also known as a causal loop, is a theoretical proposition in which time travel to change an event in the past causes a sequence of events, which in turn leads to the need to go back in time to change the event. So you're in a constant loop. An excellent example of this is the movie 12 Monkeys with Bruce Willis and Brad Pitt. If you haven't seen that movie, I highly recommend watching it. But also, for our losties, we could talk about Saeed went back in time to shoot Ben to keep him from becoming a monster, but that led to him being taken to the others and losing his innocence and making him a monster. So you're in a loop. Got it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So the bootstrap paradox is a theoretical paradox of time travel that occurs when an object or piece of information sent back in time becomes trapped within an infinite cause-effect loop in which the item no longer has a discernible point of origin and is said to be uncaused or self-created. And this is why I had to wait until episode 15 to make this the fun facts, because there are 2 examples of the bootstrap paradox in this episode. Can you get them? Do you see them? Anyone?
Sure, you have it written out for us.
Anyone?
Bueller.
First of all, Richard Alpert's compass. Alpert gives it to Locke, who gives it to Alpert, who gives it to Locke, who gives it to Alpert, who gives it to Locke. Where did it come from? And the second is Ellie names Daniel after himself because she heard his name while she was pregnant with him, and then she named him Daniel. So she got the idea. It's a loop. So
where did it come from? There's a chicken and egg, or there's nothing. Like, that's interesting.
And what started
really
it? Yep.
And according to Lost writers and producers, they purposefully wrote the bootstrap paradox, the 2, into this episode, and that was done on purpose. That's what purposefully means. So I thought that was cool.
What?
All right. That's the temporal paradox. What do you guys think about that?
Christy?
Mm-hmm.
No,
you all clear on it?
So one other thing I wanted to mention, I didn't put it in here, but I did see it when I did this research. And since you guys brought it up earlier, a second solution to a temporal paradox, as opposed to the Novikov principle, which says that it's already accounted for, is the multiverse. And that is the idea that if you were to go back in time and change something, another branch of time would exist. And so you would continue, or you would disappear in one timeline and you would cause another. So that is another solution to some of the temporal paradoxes, the consistency
one. And that one makes a lot more sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
The multiverse.
That's the one that basically tries to square free will with these paradoxes.
Absolutely, yeah.
If you believe in free will, then that's the only logical outcome is a multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't believe in free will, then these other ones are possible, where literally, basically times the flat circle, and you exist in a superposition of every place you have ever been or will be, and you will do it over and over and over and over, which is a much more kind of nihilistic kind of version. But to me, it's simpler and makes more sense than the other ones.
Yeah, I don't think that I don't think that we have free will in the way that we pretend we do.
I think free will is an illusion.
Yeah, but again, it's not what you believe. Like we're either in one timeline or we are in multiples exist. What we believe doesn't really make any fucking difference, but those are 2 options. And we will talk more about obviously where this show goes as far as the time stuff at the end of season 5, and then some more in season 6 for sure. But anyways, so that's the temporal paradox that it appears, we're trying to figure out right now. Are losties in a Newcomb's paradox? Are they causing what they are trying to avoid, or is there some solution like a multiverse where we can change things? I think that's fucking great, and I love where the writers have taken this show. What do you think about the time stuff?
Christy?
Anyone?
I love it. I think they actually handle it really well in this show. They take their liberties, but they also, like you say, they're taking actual paradoxes and purposefully writing them into the story, which I think is pretty clever, to be honest. I don't think a lot of stories deal with time paradoxes very well. There's a lot of holes there, and they have a tendency to not kind of go hard science on it, where in this show they actually kind of do. Which is impressive, not just from like the kind of cleverness standpoint, but like to come up with a story and to thread a story together after this many seasons where you're dealing with these types of paradoxes, and they straddle it in a way that's actually fairly cool. I think that's one of the coolest things about this show.
Yeah, I really love it too. And we'll talk more about the time stuff and reactions to it at the time that it aired in our bonus show when we talk about, theories and questions and all that goodness. All right, shall we do some best and worst moments?
Sure.
Let's do it.
All right, then. Let's start with you, Christy, since you answered me.
Best moments. Locke saying, "I'm not afraid of anything you can do anymore, Ben."
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Chang, the look on his face when he found out that Miles is his son.
Right.
And then a little bit later, Miles realizing that his father loved him and his mother so much.
Yes. Those are great moments.
Yeah. I also really loved the whole Sawyer loving Juliet so much. His character growth has been such a treat.
Yes.
And Kate got super butthurt when Jack argued that all the misery they've been through will be wiped clean. And I think that also explains why she was so happy when she got on the sub and saw Sawyer, because she's like, well, if I can't have Jack, maybe I can make a play for Sawyer. So
I don't know that she would. I think she respects Juliet. I don't know. I guess you never know with Kate. She's kind of a wild card. Is she going to be selfish or not,
Probably.
I think the other
historically.
Yes, indeed. I think the other thing that is cool about the one moment that you mentioned, Christy, how Locke is like not afraid of Ben. And it's interesting because he doesn't know what Ghost Alex told Ben, right? Because he was going to get the terribly like short, thin vine or whatever. And so he's feeling that confidence even without knowing that Ben was like threatened into doing what he says.
Unless they're the same entity.
Yeah, I know that's where you're heading with it.
Ooh.
That's what you've been thinking. What were your worst moments?
Kate.
That's the end of the sentence?
Kate.
All right.
Short and sweet.
Mad at her. Ben, what about you? What were your best and worst?
I think one of my favorite moments is when John says, there's nothing that you can do that I'm afraid of, and then Ben says, well, in that case, I'd love to come. Another best and worst moment, but another sort of like sticking it to Kate, and I think it's actually Jack. Really, sort of growing up or sort of accepting everything was when she says it wasn't all misery, and he says enough of it was. And the way he's very matter of fact about it, it's like, okay, yeah, he's over it.
You think so?
And then,
I said, you think so? You think he's over it?
Yeah, that's what it feels like to me. Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing that I really liked was just the whole like Locke bullet wound in the leg scene, that whole kind of circle introducing those paradoxes there. That was actually really, really cool. Very, very, very clever and very well done. I didn't actually really have any worst scenes here. Like I thought, or worst there were some things that were a little awkward and some like, oh, Kate's on the boat, but there weren't any scenes that I thought were just like, yeah, I did not like them. I thought it was just really, really well done.
All right. Derek, what about you?
Best moment was the look on Ben's face when Locke says he's going to kill Jacob.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
It was just like, holy, because that was the look on my face too, pretty much. And yeah, there really wasn't any horrible, really bad moments, but I didn't like the scene where, Radzinski was beating up Sawyer and Phil hitting Juliet. So I was kind of shitty of them, but I'm sure they'll get what they deserve.
Oh, all right.
Hopefully.
My best and worst moment were the same. It's the line, so I can kill him. It's in the best because, like Derek said, the look it put on Ben's face and the idea like, wow, this is like badass Locke in charge. But then it's in my worst because it's like, wait a second, what the fuck is going on here? Because I thought, like, isn't Jacob the good guy, the master of the island or whatever? And suddenly Locke wants to fucking kill him. And just like, what is even happening? Is who what?
Well,
is Jacob really the good guy?
Well, see, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is like, this is what now I'm confused. Everything's upside down. Who's good? Who's bad? I don't know what's happening. And so that throws me for a loop. What were you going to say, Christy?
That look on Ben's face when Locke says that, I don't know if it's shock or mild adoration. I think it might be a mix of the two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a ballsy move, obviously. Ben is joking about, oh, are you afraid I'm going to stage a coup? And, Locke's like, nah, that's what I'm up to, actually.
Yeah, right. We're just going to kill the leader.
Yeah. So that's why it's best and worst for me, because like it's a great, powerful moment, but it really throws me for a loop. All right. Ben, what were your rankings like this week?
Let's see. I really, I didn't have a third worst, but for second worst, I had Phil, obviously, basically for slapping Juliet around. I mean, that's just, come on, man. And then Radzinski I had as the worst, just due to the neck beard and the continued damage. He's just sort of a one-trick pony, and he's just a violent, kind of vile man. So
yeah.
My third in bronze, Dr. Bronze. I'm going to put Jack in third place, simply for. I think he's just kind of done with the bullshit, and I think he's got the same sort of resignation that Saeed does, where I think his play is one, either this undoes all of this pain and we go back to the life that we had before, or I die in a very quick way and the pain is gone anyway. Either way, and this turns out, I'm going to be free of the pain. And I think that's, with him, with his drinking, with his pills, all that type of stuff, he's been running away from his pain for a really long time. This feels like his natural way of being like, finally, I can get out of this hell that I'm in.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little selfish to take everybody with him, I think, for that.
Sure.
But I will say his exact motivations will become clear in the finale.
In second place, I've got Richard Alpert. It's just seeing him in this position where normally he's very in control. He knows what's going on, but to see him in a place where it's sort of like Eloise. So like he's at a point where he doesn't even really know what's going on anymore, right? Yeah. Locke is actually telling him what's going to happen. And that's very kind of strange. And then I've got Locke as the best just because he's, whether he's dead or not, or whatever the fuck he is or whatever was going on, he's, he is in charge, at least for now. And there's nothing more fun than those points where Locke is in, or thinks he knows what he's doing and thinks he knows what his fate is. And he's just going toward it. It's always fun to watch him like that.
Agreed.
Especially when it puts people like Ben and Richard kind of back on their heels.
Derek. Oh, sorry.
As far as fucking kill,
kill.
I'm not fucking anyone this episode. I'm going to kill Phil.
All right.
Phil.
You've been abstaining from the sex for a couple episodes recently. Just not sexy like it should be, Jack.
I did fuck Kate last episode, but before that I didn't. Yeah. They haven't really been sexy episodes. They've been interesting episodes, but not sexy.
All right. Derek, how about you? What do your rankings look like?
I didn't have a third worst. My second worst was Phil. Same reason as Ben, because, for hitting Juliet. And my worst is Radzinski, because you just, you love to hate him. And my third best was Jack. The same reason, he's, tired of the bullshit and he just wants to, get things right, even if you're going to get vaporized doing it. At least it's painless.
Yep.
It is. I mean,
Yeah.
The second for me is Locke, because he's just being a badass, leading the others, scaring the shit out of Ben Linus, and what's he going to do? Kill Jacob? What's the goal? And then my best was Sawyer, because he's getting him and Juliet off the island. He knows it's done. It's time to get out of there and go on with their lives.
All right.
And I'm not going to fuck anybody this episode either. I just,
Wow.
Yeah. It's a rarity, but it happens.
The men are not horny this week.
Yeah. And I'm going to kill Radzinski.
All right.
Again.
I only have 2 in the bottom this week as well. Second worst, I have Radzinski. The worst, I have Phil. I put him there because he slapped Juliet. It was just so unnecessary. At the top, third best, I have Dr. Chang, actually, because he is listening to Daniel and his son and is trying to do the best that he can to save people. And he steps up and he, is fighting against Radzinski, who is suddenly a psychopath. I had a hard time, actually, with my top because there were a lot of people I wanted to put in it. So second, I have Locke because of all the reasons that everybody's already said. But the reason that I have him in second is because I'm a little bit worried about the wanting to kill Jacob thing. And so I have Richard Alpert at the top because, he's still mysterious to me. He's so calm about everything. He just takes it all in stride. I don't know. Maybe that has to do with being however old he is, clearly a very, very long time. I'm still curious as to what does advisor mean? I love him and his guyliner. And because I didn't have room for them in the top, I decided to have a threesome with Miles and Hurley because they make me laugh and they warm my heart. So I put them there. And I am going to kill Radzinski's neckbeard this week because it's too much.
Yeah, they got some
Christy.
close-ups of it this week. And most of the other episodes, you haven't seen many close-ups of him. They got some close-ups, and it's pretty gnarly.
It's not good. Christy, what about you?
So in the bottom of the bottom, I have Kate because she just kind of sucks this episode.
Wow, all right.
Phil can fuck off, so he's a number 2. And Radzinski is the worst of the worst. I mean, seriously, let's fucking kill this asshole already. I also had a hard time with my top 3 because there were so many good people. I wanted to put Locke in, but then the whole, I know what I told Son, but we're not doing that. I'm going to go kill Jacob. That took him right off my list.
Okay.
So in third place, I put Dr. Chang.
Oh, he made it in yours
to
too.
His son.
Yeah.
He clearly loves his wife and his son very much. And he's doing what's best for all the people on the island, really. Jack for embracing their destiny and for convincing Eloise to help him.
Mm-hmm.
And Sawyer, like I said, just for loving Juliet so much and seeing his character growth has really been awesome. For fucking kill, I am going to fuck Saeed for his impeccable timing.
Big surprise there.
Yeah, that's a good point. Saeed has been your man since the beginning.
Yeah.
And I couldn't put him in the top 3, so I was like, well, I'll fuck him. So
yeah, see, that's what happened with Miles and Hurley too.
Right. And I wanted to put Miles and Hurley in there too, but I was like, I'm just, I can't put everybody up at the top.
You and Miles and Hurley and Saeed, you're gonna be sore, girl.
That would have been a lot of work. Yeah, no, that's why I'm just like,
airtight.
Just Saeed.
At that point, if there's 3 of them, do you have to fit one of them in the bottom?
Oh no.
No, it should be airtight.
Moving right along, I'm going to kill Redzinski.
All right. Ben, so I can stop
Yes.
picturing an airtight Christy. Could you update us on where the power rankings are? After episode 15.
Yeah, we've got definitely some movement.
There was a lot of Radzinski hate, so
Yep.
yeah.
We actually, and let me check something here because I just realized we do have a tie in third place. We do, yeah. So we have Ethan with negative 45 points, and we also have Phil with negative 45 points. So we've got a tie for third
Rapping Julie
place.
will do that to you.
Yeah, slapping her around a little bit. Which puts Charles Widmore falling out of the top slot. He's now in second place with negative 61 points, and
is it
we have
Neckbeard?
Radzinski taking negative 82 points. So more than a 20-point lead at the bottom.
Wow.
In third place, we have Locke going from 61 points to 72 points. Dan Faraday
take over
stays.
Dan. Whoop, whoop.
Dan Faraday. Well, I mean, this was where it was last week too.
I know, but I thought maybe Locke was gonna take Dan over this week. So all right.
Nope. Dan Faraday stays in second place with 81 points. Obviously, not being a corpse this week, he didn't lose or gain any points. And then in first place, we have Sawyer extending his lead. He's now at 133 points. So yeah, I think it might be a statistical impossibility that Sawyer does not win first place now.
Yes, I think
Sawyer.
I think Sawyer is definitely going to be the winner. And I just checked when he won in season 3, he won with 128 points. So he's already surpassed his last gold medal number.
Yeah, and he hasn't had nearly as much
Sawyer.
like baby oil on him this time around. So it's actually
That's
character
true.
development, not just
That's true.
not just greasiness.
Alrighty. Let's do our final impressions of Follow the Leader, and then we'll get out of here until the end of season 5. Christy, what did you think of this week?
Oh, I thought it was a really great episode. A lot of really awesome reveals and seeing so many people working together for the real good of everybody. So it just made me really happy.
Yeah, agreed. I think that this is a fantastic lead-in into the finale. All of the pieces are there. Will they stop the incident or will they cause the incident? Are we in a loop or are we in a multiverse? Like, what is going on here? I fucking love it. I am excited to see what the hell is going on with Locke. And I just am excited all over again. I love the finales. Every season finale is just so fucking great. So yeah, Ben, what about you?
Yeah, it was a really, really fun episode. I really like Jack's kind of journey in this episode. Even though he wasn't in it a ton, but I think what he represents, I think he and Saeed are sort of in that same place now. Which is fortunate that they're together, with the hydrogen bomb. I do wonder how the fuck are they going to pull this off? It's not like it's something you just press a button and it happens. But yeah, like you said, it's answering a lot of the sort of time-space paradoxes. And it's really interesting to see Locke, or whatever this is, Locke's back and he's very, very focused and very, very confident, which can mean one of two things. Either he knows what he's talking about and something amazing is going to happen, or he has no idea what he's talking about and it's all bluster, in which point something amazing will probably happen as well. So it feels like it's building up that tension for the last couple episodes, which I'm really looking forward to.
I know, me too. Derek, what did you think of Follow the Leader? And again, are we answering questions or making them? I'm probably going to change to be asking you that from now on until the end of the series.
Yeah, 'cause I know like the last season, they're probably not going to generate too many new questions because they're going to have to wrap it up. But no.
All right. Well,
I don't know. I heard the last episode caused a lot of stuff. So,
well, that's because there are a lot of stupid people that didn't understand the show, and we will get into that.
So I thought it was a really great episode. It is seeming to lead up to the finale, and Locke has his purpose, it seems, and he's leading the others to Jacob, where he intends to kill him. And Sawyer, Julie, and Kate are in the sub heading off the island, or are they? Where are they going? But my biggest question is, why does Locke want to kill Jacob?
Why does Locke want to kill Jacob? Well, Derek, I have good news for you. Because next week, you're going to find out the answer to that question. It is going to be Wednesday, April 17th. It's going to be Benjamin's 46th birthday. Right? No, is it 47th? How old are we?
46.
Okay. Sorry. We're 45. I always forget. You know why? Because my birthday is in November, but I always just change how old I am in my head in January, which is like 11 months before it happens. So I thought I was
doing that this year. Nope.
So I thought I was 40 because you're going to be 50.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got to finish
I was
this before I'm 50 because it will be lost in my 40s except for one.
But I was 46 in my head, and I know Ben always is older than me, so that's what happened. Anywho's, it'll be Ben's 46th birthday and the end of season 5. You are gonna get the incident part 1 and part 2, plus our bonus episode with a lot of good shit in it. The incident part 1 and part 2 are, of course, Jacob episodes, and they're Derek episodes. We finally fucking meet Jacob.
About time.
We get to see how he's influenced the lives of our losties, and we will find out if Locke is successful in his quest to kill him. See you next week. Bye.
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 Lost in My 40s is a Space Bear Media production. Executive produced and edited by me, Lacy J. Sound engineering, editing, and original music by Benjamin Trimp. Like and follow Lost in My 40s on Facebook and SpaceBear_Media on Instagram and Threads. Plus, follow Space Bear Media on YouTube for extra video content. Or, for everything in one place, go to spacebearmedia.com.